I'm Sinclair Snow. It's October 8th. I identify as gay and trans, meaning I was assigned female at birth, but I identify as male, and I like dudes. Being part of the LGBTQ plus community is actually really nice. It's comforting to know that you have a group of people that you can relate to.
Gain Across. Today is October 15th, 2019, and Sinclair was a student of mine in 9th grade English, and then after that Sinclair was into writing fiction, and he often gave me stories and I believe chapters from a book to edit and to give feedback for.
My name is Carol Farley, and it is November 21st, 2019, and I've known Sinclair for 8 years, since 6th grade, and I've been his teacher, and yeah, that's how I know Sinclair.
Do I enjoy being trans? That is a really loaded question because part of me wants to say yes, because I really do like the way I've been raised. I like the way that I'm forming as a person, and I think if I wasn't trans, I'd be a completely different person. It really helped me see the world in a different way. But then again, I also want to say no, because it's really hard. Like, I didn't choose this, because being misgendered on the daily, people throwing slurs at you, listening or hearing about people who are also part of the trans community get murdered on the daily, like, that's insane. But I wouldn't change who I am, even if I had the chance to be cis. I like who I am. The best thing about being trans is the perspective that I have on life. I was socially raised as female, so I have a certain standard on the way my life should be lived, in a sense. Like, I grew up with the idea that I had to wear dresses, that I had to wear makeup, that I had to like boys, that I had to gossip, kind of all those stereotypes. And also, I'm now like socially sort of put my place as a man. And because of that, I get to see the other side. And I absolutely understand both sides now. Being a man in certain situations is beneficial, which is horrible to say, while being female it isn't. And seeing that perspective, the two different sides of being treated good and being treated bad, it definitely makes you think about how you should treat other people too.
Hello, my name is Shamal Munzi, and today is the November 21st, and I know Sinclair from school. Sinclair to me is as a friend, and we met at my school. I introduced myself, he introduced himself. We discussed memes later on in the day because we had the same class.
The worst part about being trans, listening to people invalidate you as a person over and over and over does get kind of sucky. Is you're just trying to be a person, and they don't let you do that.
I don't pretend to understand it, but I think that if it engenders love and kindness, please be who you want to be.
The first time I realized that the label society gave me didn't fit me was sophomore year. I played basketball. All through middle school up until sophomore, I played basketball. It was a fun sport and I had a lot of friends on the team, but we had a home game where we were waiting for the opposite team to come in. They were late. We were all there making sure that the game wasn't canceled. We're getting ready for our game. And a bunch of us were just chilling in the lobby. And in the lobby, there's like these wooden doors that push inward from the main doors that lead into the gym. And there's like plexiglass on these wooden doors. And I'd been standing in front of them, talking with friends and goofing off, fooling around while we're waiting for the other team to come. And I see my reflection. And that was the first time I saw my reflection and said, that's not me. I was in my full uniform for basketball, my hair up, surrounded by other girls on my team, and I felt like I didn't belong. Like where I had been placed was not because of me, and that was ridiculously crazy to think about. I think that was also the first time I disassociated too, because that whole game is a blur. I don't remember any of it. But that was the first time I really realized that I'm probably not a girl.
I think gender identity is fine. If you prefer to be a certain gender, regardless of what parts you were born with, I don't see any harm in that at all. I think the LGBTQ plus community as a whole is pretty damn great. I mean, you got more people comfortable with themselves as opposed to like closed off from the world. A lot. If you're happy some certain way, that's fine with me.
First time I came out as trans was junior year. I was in the library hanging out with friends during study hall. I decided that year I wasn't going to do basketball. I did the tryouts. Not only was I super out of shape, but being on a girls' team was a no-go. I couldn't take it mentally. So I told a friend of mine about this. And she told me that what I was feeling was valid, and that what I was feeling was okay, and that I should look more into it. She asked me, "Are you a boy?" And I remember staring at her for a long time and sort of thinking about, oh, maybe I am a boy. And I told her that. And she said she fully supported me. She asked me what pronouns I go by. And she asked me if I had a name. At the time I did not. And she was the first one to sort of be my rock in that situation. It was the first time I came out. First time I came out as gay. A man being attracted to men. Simple. Coming out though, not very simple. It was senior year. I was dating a girl, had been for a few months. It was Valentine's Day, and she had been really upset that I hadn't done anything for her, and I had been going through a very bad depressive spell because I had realized that I wasn't attracted to women, and I would have to tell her this. And for a very long time, I kept it to myself. Never said anything that I was attracted to men. But she had called me and asked me what was going on, what was up, and I just said it. I told her, we can't make this work, and it has nothing to do with you. It's because I'm gay. And I repressed it for a very long time, and to say it out loud for once in my life was insane. I cried, and she told me that maybe I should have found out who I was sooner, and she got really mad. But that didn't stop me from coming out to my friends, telling them who I was, because I figured out who I was as a person, and who I like, and who I love.
So as I said before, I've known Sinclair since 6th grade, and initially I knew Sinclair, and so I've kind of been on his journey with him from the time he was young, sort of struggling through early high school, and struggling with a lot of different issues, and then through senior year in high school when I think it was senior year when determined to be Sinclair.
Gender identity is a very personal aspect. In one of my English classes, we do a whole unit on gender and what does it mean to be a man and what does it mean to be a woman. And more students say that the traits that are typical or traditionally male and traditionally female don't matter anymore, and that even though there's a standard stereotypical male or standard stereotypical female, that people don't feel confined to adhere to those stereotypes. That the traditional roles for male and female are dissolving. For me, that is the way it should be. If whatever's inside a person, not that what's on them physically, but whatever is inside, and whether that's chemical, whether that's genetic, whether that's DNA, or whether it is somehow emotional and psychological. Of course they interact, but a person should be free to act upon whatever expression, as long as it doesn't harm others excessively, then they should be free. What I mean by excessively is some parents might freak out when their son or their daughter, who manifests as a son, who manifests as a daughter, feels that they want to fulfill a different role. That may be hurtful to a parent, but that's not excessively hurtful. And if the relationship is strong, and if the parents allow their child to feel strong and independent, then it shouldn't be very hurtful.
Hi, I'm Sinclair Snow. It's October 21st. The time I was most afraid to come out, the first time I came out to my dad as anything, that was scary because it was an experience that I wasn't ready for and had never heard other experiences from other people. I didn't know what to expect. And then when it happened, and it was just normal. It wasn't something to be worked up over. Although later, as I came out as multiple things at different times, whatever, it kind of got increasingly nerve-wracking because I said I was something the first time, and then you come back and I say I'm something else the other time. It feels like that person, there's a possibility that they're invalidating me because I've came out to them multiple times for different things. The other time I was most fearful coming out was high school, my senior year. My junior year, I'd figured out I was trans. And during the summer, I picked an A. And I started passing as male and presenting and using the men's restroom and things like that. Start my social transition. And so coming back to school, having changed a lot, I was afraid that there would be teachers, especially teachers that I looked up to, that were like, nah, that doesn't exist. No. I was scared. But then once I came out to one teacher, I just kept doing it. And I got to the point where it was like, well, if they do judge me, they judge me. And that's something they have to deal with. When I graduated high school, the view on myself, yeah, it changed. Because I got to a point in my life where I'd completed something. I'd finished something on a bigger scale that would affect me for the rest of my life. And I've seen what happens to people, and I've heard things of people who have dropped out of high school and didn't finish high school, and either just stopped going to school at all, or had to go get their GED, or anything. So it was a big thing to graduate from something that's supposed to help me, the rest of my life. And the best thing about that too was I graduated as me rather than who I'd been assigned at birth as and how society had labeled me. I finished school as the man I want to be.
Well, it's interesting because over the years, I guess it's more, my thoughts are just how much I don't know. I'm from the generation where there was, you were gay or you were straight, and that was kind of the extent of it. And so over the last, I'd say 8 or 9 years, a lot of sort of different, I don't know how to put it, but there's just the world has changed. I don't know if people have changed, but sort of the way that students identify their sexuality and their gender. And for me, it's actually been quite a learning curve. And I've learned a lot from Sinclair, just in terms of gender fluidity, the difference between sexuality and gender, a lot of things that I really hadn't known before. So it's really made me think about it.
I got my name legally changed about a month after I graduated. It was a big step because, I was solidifying who I am. It was a big step for me to be taking, and I was afraid that it was a step that I would never be able to take in my life because I knew my dad was going to pay for it, and Well, I didn't really have the money at the time. That was until someone at school, Tristan, her and I talked about it, and she helped me fill in the papers that I needed, and she gave me the money to do it. And that was insane. That was a huge step for me to be taking, especially so early in my transition, and it was huge. I would say for people who supported me, my dad took me. He wasn't really there supporting me, he just took me and was there to watch the proceedings. I guess my little sister did support me, and so did all my friends, but they weren't there physically, it was in spirit. I was really nervous then too, because I was like, I've heard of things where people have gone in, given their reason to get their name changed, and the judge has been like, no. And I had never been in front of a judge before, so that was a new experience too. My dad didn't even get to sit next to me. I sat by myself in the front in this at a table. He sat behind me in a row of chairs. There was the translator, like taking note of everything that was being said, and then there was the judge. And she was really nice, and she was very upfront with like, okay, give me a reason, like I need to know for your reasoning for changing both your first and your middle. And I said it was because my current name didn't fit who I am. And she was like, oh, cool, okay. Is that it? Yeah, that's it. All right, then you sign this, you do that, and then you're legally this. Poof, there. You'll get the documents in the mail later. It was super quick and it was painless, and it was a huge step for me to be taking.
I think that I do reflect on my own identity, and my personal identity is different because I feel pretty sure of my sexual identity and my gender, but I think it's made me appreciate the struggles that kids are going through now, middle schoolers, high schoolers, and how difficult it is in our world to kind of struggle with these issues and or grapple with them. And that we live in a world with a lot of bias and a lot of judgment, and so I think it's made me really think about that and really how can I be supportive and sensitive to all of this sort of struggles and changes.
Not in terms of gender necessarily, and not because not because of Sinclair. I celebrate Sinclair. I love that he has the confidence and the courage, and it's too bad it needs courage to be who he wants to be. But I'm not one who has typically fulfilled a traditional female role. You might say I could be a bit of a tomboy. And yes, there have been times where I've endured other scrutiny because of it. But in terms of my own identity, I identify as a human. Sometimes that's unfortunate. But I identify as a human, someone who is flawed, but who strives to engender love and kindness and generosity. I fail miserably at that. But that's what I think our identity should be, is the better traits of what it means to be human.
One thing that I wish that I could change about my situation is I wish I was on testosterone. Like, that would be such a huge thing for my mental health. It would be another big step in my life that at some point I'm going to take. But I wish in this moment, I wish a while ago I had been able to start it. And I wish I was in a situation where my dad was like, oh, when do you want to start tea, you know? Oh, I hope you do this. Like, but I'm not. Like, if I want to start testosterone, I'm going to have to do all the paperwork by myself. I'm going to have to set up for a therapist so they can okay me all by myself. I have to pay for it all by myself. And while maybe that sounds like I'm complaining, I kind of am. But at the same time, like, I'm still in a position where I'm better off than a lot of guys who come out. I didn't get kicked out of my house. I didn't get misgendered all the time at school after I came out. I haven't really dealt with that much bigotry. Like, I have on a smaller scale, you know, there's some people who just don't understand, but ignorance is different than bigotry. I mean, I'm happy that I don't have to deal with that. And I feel bad that I'm complaining that, oh, I'm not on this, I'm not on that now. But it's something I can wait for. It really is, because I know it's going to be such a big thing for me.